mentioned that his registrar asked him, but they didn't bring a file. He said, no, you don't need a file now. So one thing, beautiful thing here is that paper has ceased to be the important element for us. Instead of carrying a big file, moving from one table to another, once the process is filed on the e-filing platform by the lawyer, it will go straight for, and payment has been authorized and payment made. The registrar of the court here in Asaba will have the assistant director of courts, will see it as a task in his own menu. On our end, we have the Nigerian case management system, the portal. Then on the end of the lawyers, we have the e-filing portal. He will see it, then forward it to the chief judge with his own remarks. The chief judge will see it as a task, call it up, then assign it to a court. Here in Asaba, we have 6 courts. He will see the 6 courts displayed, and he can assign it to any of the 6 courts. Then the judge on his own end sees it as a task, opens it up, and also fix a date. The registrar, after the date is fixed, will see it. It will now go to the point of issuing hearing notice to be served on the parties. So it's a smooth system that is working very effectively. The only thing, the pitfall on the other end, is that lawyers are yet to embrace it to the full capacity of the expectation. So that if we had taken off in the 27 judicial divisions in Delta State, I don't know where those lawyers will do, what those lawyers will do. Will they run to Anambra, or run to Edo State, or run to Bayelsa, which are neighboring states around us, to file their cases? So please, here, this is a new thing that has happened, and I believe that it's working effectively. We have some challenges too in terms of network. The bandwidth we had originally was not large enough. We had to upgrade to higher bandwidth from 5 Mbps to 50 Mbps. Then, because even though you will call me names, I'm a tech judge, in computing, in technology, the area is so wide that what you think you know, you don't even know anything yet. We were so eager to get a new router, to a bigger router, because we found that the router we had was too small. At first, we were blaming Glo, the network provider, that they have not done well. So now you have given us 50 Mbps. Why are we not having better network? We just found that the router we had was serving for the was serving for 5 Mbps. So it's like buying a generator. You have a small generator, you have a small changeover. Then all of a sudden you bought a big generator, and you need to buy a bigger changeover. So we got a bigger router. But the job didn't end there. The bigger router had 16 ports. The small had 5. And everything was looped into one port. Why must it be so? An idea came, why don't you separate them? When that was done, we now have good service in Asaba, and we can file our processes effectively. Thank you.
Thank you, my Lord. And you kept to the 5 minutes time allotted. That shows that you are very meticulous, and you pay attention to details. He has answered about the pros and cons with the e-filing and case management in Delta State. And he has given an example of how prison visit has been implemented with the aid of technology. And he has also given the pitfalls of lawyers running away from the process, and then the other problem of router, but all has been overcome. I hope Lagos State, because in Lagos State, our technology has become an albatross. We are the first to embrace technology in Nigeria, e-filing and everything in Lagos. But the lawyers there in Lagos are crying. So we pray that that Lagos, as you emulate Lagos, don't emulate our pitfalls. Thank you, my Lord. Do you think in your adoption of that technology in case management, can one say it was a timeous intervention or disruptive?
Okay, that's me again. Yes, it depends on how you look at it. It is timeous because at the time we are in, like we heard from our keynote speaker, the world is advancing so fast that if you don't catch up, then you'll be left behind. As far back as 2011, I attended a conference in Malaysia, far away Malaysia. At the end of the conference on a Friday like this, we were taken to the Supreme Court complex. And the Chief Judge showed us a court. And we found that the judge, when he comes on the seat, he has a place to plug his laptop. The lawyers also have a point at their sitting points to plug their laptops. At 2011, Malaysia had adopted case management. They adopted e-filing. So you don't carry files and all that. Why must we continue with it in 2023 in Nigeria? So it is timeous because this is the time we need to embrace change. Then when you say disruptive have two meanings from what I see in the dictionary. On one side, it looks to be negative. On the other side is a positive end. It means an innovation. What we have today is an innovation. E-filing is an innovation that we need to adopt. It is just that we don't understand it yet. That's why we think it is disruptive on the negative side. It is positive in that we are advancing. And what we're experiencing today at the beginning, like in about 22 days that we have started, only about 20 matters have been filed. 20 cases, the normal civil case, appeal, fundamental rights, then divorce petitions. Outside of that, the ones that we are not paying for, the state police have filed quite a number of their remand applications because based on the new law, the Administration of Criminal Justice law, remand applications are no longer taken to the magistrate court in Delta State. They are now brought straight to the High Court. That's one of the new, and of course, they need to file their processes. When the judge sits on the seat, he puts his computer there for Asaba. Every judge has a laptop provided by the state. And of course, the registrars also have their computers. The process have theirs. So we experiences those early challenges that we expected to meet. And we think that we have a plan in place to overcome them. Particularly knowing that it's going to demand a lot of money, millions of naira, for us to set up Asaba. We have spent close to 30 million, including the smart televisions for visual hearing in all the courts in Asaba. We are doing the same thing around the state. The Chief Judge has just directed that the same visual smart televisions be bought for the high courts in Warri and Efron. If you come to my office, you'll see them, 55-inch LG smart televisions, so that to make visual hearing easy. We are also looking at it that rather than spend the same amount of money we spent in Asaba, we have 26 more judicial divisions. We don't want to spend the same amount. We want to procure low computers, laptops rather than desktops to see that we have because we also have the problem of security for some of the courts. If we put laptops there, they will go and steal them. We don't want something to start and it just stops. So there are good plans in place to see that we get to those places as long as we have the funds coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, my Lord. You have been keeping to your time, and you have also been giving us something to take home. Finally, what are the anticipated potentials of a fully adopted approach to editing and other ancillary processes in the judicial system? Do you think we will get there?
I'll say yes, certainly we're going to get there. Just doing Asaba Judicial Division. I heard that yesterday it was announced at the the National Judicial Institute that Asaba has become one state with where that is technology driven. That's Delta State. But for me, when I hear that, I'm not happy because we have 27 judicial division. Only one judicial division has come on board. What is going to happen to the other 26 judicial divisions of the High Court in Delta State? So there's a lot of potential in adopting this process. And the only drawback for us is the funding. And we are looking that it is possible for private partnership to even come in to assist in seeing that this is achieved at the shortest possible time. We're having a discussion earlier with during the time of the immediate past Attorney General to see support in that area, but since he left office, we have not been able to have that link. I think that we are going to achieve that. I believe as we go into 2024, more of this is going to happen. Like I said before, we now have a domain name, and before the end of this weekend or by Monday, the website, the judiciary website will be up and running, and we are going to upload a lot of things into that website that will sell us to the public and to the world, which will open more doors for us. So like I have always told the Chief Judge, the sky is the limit for us. We are going places in Delta State. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my Lord. Once again, you have equally answered according to time and with something to take home. But what I want to just, quip in before I move to the next speaker is I should give them the laptop and maybe other devices. How do you do about network? Because I've seen some judges complain that they were using their money to buy data for them to use their laptop at home and all that. So that challenge, have you encountered it or complaint about network vis-a-vis data for the users of those devices?
Okay. Yes. Well, we've always had that issue, even before adopting the NCMS and e-filing. For Asaba, the headquarters have no problem. We have Glo providing the network. And our plan is that with the new High Court complex, I'm sure you have seen it, we have a new High Complex that will bring
state-of-the-art
that will bring the six, thank you, that will bring the 6 judges in Asaba together in one place. So what we are working on now is to ensure that the same service we have in the old building, we will move to the new building, and we already have a quotation to make sure that everything is seamless when we get to that new building, so that in the office there's the internet, and if we get, and we're trying to not just use bandwidth, we want fiber to be brought into that place so that there will be no destruction in that. Then the recommendation of the NJC is that we should have a backup network, which I've also asked the person that is making the quotation to add a backup network for the new court building, so that when one fails, the other one will always be there. Then once we have that, because it is fiber, we are going to also see how we can get it to the houses of the judges, so that they don't need to spend their money buying data. But for now, they are doing it without complaining. And I'm sure my little brother George here will tell you, he spent a lot of his money doing a lot of things. That is why he has acquired a special name in Asaba.
Thank you, my Lord. Finally, from me, the audience will still ask you, are there provisions against hacking? Because they can hack the system and get a judgment of one of my lords and deliver it ahead of time.
Wow. Yes, like the website we have with the domain name we just got now. Today, the web designer, I sent money to him to provide not just the VPS but also the security for the website. So yes, there's going to be security for the website to ensure that, and of course, for the NCMS, that security is done by the NJC, not by us, because the server is in the NJC, not with us here. But for our own website, yes, we have provision for security. Thank you.
Thank you, my Lord. Now we shift to the next speaker, the Honorable Solicitor General and the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Justice, Delta State, in the person of Omamuzo Erebe, Esquire. I thank you for commending the work of the immediate past Attorney General for the laws that he midwifed. In fact, when he appeared before us at the Privileges Committee, some of the questions we asked, what have you done as your contribution to the development of the law? And when we asked that question, he now said, okay, please, can you give? So he now started reeling out what he did in Delta State. And my co-panelist said, let's take a bow and go. I said, no. So I thank him in absentia for the imprint he had made in the sands of time in Delta State. And I hope he will come back. He has not finished the work. I believe that he will come back either at Delta State or at a higher level. So my PS, the question for you here is that Delta State recently adopted a groundbreaking technological applications to ease the administration of justice and civil justice in Delta, in the state. The audience would like if you can give us some highlights. You know, it's within 5 minutes.
I'll try. Good afternoon again, once again. This time I'm Solicitor General and not His Excellency. But I would speak to the administration of criminal justice law mainly because the civil is actually more of a private sector-driven something. So I will talk about the administration of criminal justice law mainly because that's where a lot of responsibilities are placed on us as state council, particularly in the case management provisions of the administration of criminal justice law. Now, if you look at the law itself, one of the overarching objectives of the law is the use of technology. So, technology is key. Now, what are the challenges that we face every day in administration of criminal justice? One, defendants are not produced in court. Lawyers go to court and they adjourn matters for God knows when. And this then impacts on the society that has lost faith in the administration of criminal justice system. So how do we address that? How do we address the fact that the correctional centers would not produce defendants in court and cases cannot go on? One of the challenges. And so if you look at the law itself, it makes provisions for virtual hearings of criminal matters. We have had cases since the law was passed where defendants were not produced in court and the court proceeds to hear the matter with the defendant in the correctional center. So it's like a video link is set up to ensure that those cases go on. And I'm happy to say that one of the advocates of that is here with us today, Honorable Justice Marshall, Onome Marshall Umukoro. If you've been to his court, you know one thing, that it's not a court that you go to play. It's a court where cases move on. You can confirm that. It's a court where cases move on, and it's a court where technology is applied. So, if you are a lawyer and you are still living in the 18th century, you will find it difficult operating in his courts. Is that not so? So, the law has given that leeway. So how has that impacted on us in the Ministry of Justice? Because it places a responsibility on us to ensure that we are ready in court. We've had instances where our witnesses have not shown up, and we have arranged for a video link for the witnesses to give evidence from Lagos. And through that connection, the cases will go on. Now, has it been smooth sailing? No, sir, because you have to change the mindset of the lawyer itself. Now, I know they are not happy if I say this now, but I'm just making a fact. When we gave laptops to all lawyers in the Ministry of Justice and installed Law Pavilion on them as recently as 6 months ago, I'm sorry to say, some of our lawyers could not even operate the computers. Some are not even intent on learning how to even operate those computers. And so we then organized a training program for them. We brought a computer, like a computer school for old men and old women to at least know how to operate the computers. Because having a computer without even knowing what to do with it. Some of them, when we were installing Law Pavilion, your consultant came to me and said, Ose, don't be angry, eh? But you know that some of your lawyers cannot even power on the laptop. It's not a good statement. So we need to train them to change that mindset. So that we can all use this technology. For example, now, so a lawyer, a state counsel goes to Justice Onome Marshall Mukoro's court, and he's talking about a virtual hearing, and he doesn't know how to operate. That is a recipe for disaster. So we've tried to change that mindset by rigorous training, and I'm happy to say a lot of them have now bought into that regime. And we are also continuously doing training and retraining. So not only Law Pavilion, I'm happy to say that every lawyer in the Ministry of Justice today has an online version of the Nigerian Weekly Law Report with him in his phone or in his laptop. So you can cite your authorities in court, you can use them, and always be available to ensure that we are not the reason why cases are delayed. That's what we want to avoid. If our witnesses are not there, we can organize virtual hearings for them to give evidence. And as a ministry too, we have also tried to get some of these TV sets, smart TVs. I think we bought for Warri and for Asaba now to ensure that, and then we have a dedicated witness room in our office where we can bring our witnesses, particularly those little children who are they're survivors. They call them survivors now of rape. Most of them are traumatized. They can't come to court to give evidence and see the person who raped them. So we provide that shelter for them to give evidence from those rooms. So I'm told that my time is off. I don't know.
Yes. In fact, as you are answering number one, you answered number two.
Okay.
So you are taking your time for one and two together. So we go to the third question now.
Okay, sir.
What suggestion would you like to provide for easy application of technology in administration of criminal justice law and civil justice law in Delta State?
Okay, sir.
As an operator, you must have seen some areas for improvement or reform in that law. Yes. What are those areas?
Okay, sir. So basically, and the
suggestion
chief judge said something like that. Funding. To run a technologically driven administration of criminal justice law, you need adequate funding by government. It is not possible. It is not possible to run a modern century, a 21st century driven administration of criminal justice law without funds. It's impossible. But how do you convince the government officials who are in charge of the
budget allocation?
Huh?
Allocation of budget.
Yes. How do you convince them? Because when you go for budget defense, because it is not something tangible, like you are building a road, that you are building a bridge. When you make this, look, society needs justice. And when half of the population believe that once a criminal case goes to court, it never sees the light of day. I mean, it destroys the confidence of the society, and it's a dangerous thing. So we try to impress on them that, okay, I'll give you an example, and this is not reporting my government, but I know that they are doing their best. We have a budget provision for administration of criminal justice and administration of civil justice. Unfortunately, we've not been able to access it. We fund that from our own internal resources, but going forward, we need funding. Now, my Lord has said, purchase of technological equipment and all that, they need money. So those are the challenges that we're talking about. And then finally, and I've said it before, the attitudinal change of our lawyers. Lawyers are too intent on remaining on the old status quo. I do not understand why.
Analog.
Very, very analog. They want to remain, they want to do it the way they've been doing it. Is it that if the cases go on speedily, your funds are, as it were, limited? It's better for a case to be concluded speedily, and then you can look for another brief. But most lawyers, and I'm sorry to say, under the administration of criminal justice law, that will become fully operational in December, it cannot be business as usual. So if you go to court and the first thing you do is to open your diary to take a date, I'm sorry, it will change. Because before a case is fixed for hearing under the administration of criminal justice law, all pre-trial procedures must have been concluded.
Yes.
So if the judge, after case management, gives you a date for hearing, it is actually a date for hearing. And then there are penalties if you are the one that is not delaying the trial. So we need to change the attitude of our lawyers. They need to embrace technology. They need to embrace the way we do things now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rebe, the Honorable Solicitor General of Delta State. Thank you. I didn't ask you what I asked my Lord Okolosi, but I believe it applies. I hope also your lawyers are equipped with the data to access internet.
So my lawyers know that if they bring any request to me that we grant it speedily, they are all here now. They can confirm that. Because part of the challenges in criminal prosecutions is when you expect a lawyer who receives 100 or 200,000 as a salary per month to go to court, prosecute a case. And the challenge is that these witnesses, if I tell you what our lawyers go through, you'll be amazed. They use their own salary to pay a witness because he will tell you that I won't come to court until you pay my transportation. It's the government that is supposed to do that, but that is not being done. But my lawyers know that every single one of them, if you bring an application 1 week before you get to court, you receive whatever allowances you have applied for, and they go to court and do the cases.
Thank you very much, Solicitor General. We now shift to our bar activists by excellence. And when they were introducing her, they forgot to now include that she is now Dr. Anne again. Yes. With her multiple LLM, she has now capped it up with a PhD, I think from UNICAL. And in fact, she was in the forefront of those who ensured that that professor that was involved in sexual harassment is brought to book. He has been arraigned before an FCT High Court. So if people like Anne had kept quiet, maybe the matter will be suffering for lack of evidence. But she came out and also added her voice. So Anne, you are welcome. Your questions are few. And number one is, can you take the audience through how lawyers market their skills within the constraints of the rules of professional conduct prior to the introduction of technology? What were the pitfalls? I think Mr. Udotai said something about it, but we'll talk about it later. So, Anne, from your own perspective, I hope this question is understood.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, before we talk about how we managed, I think we should first briefly talk about what the RPC says in section 39. It says that every lawyer can advertise. However, it gives certain constraints. Your advertisement must not be inaccurate or likely to deceive. It says that you shouldn't diminish public confidence in the judiciary. You shouldn't make comparison with your colleague or criticize your colleague. It says that you shouldn't make your advertisement to be obstructive. It also prevents you from advertising or touting. The word it uses is touting. It also prevents you from touting in 39 sub 3 by using handbills, using touts, and going out of your way to praise yourself, so to speak, in a way that demeans your colleague. So basically what section 39 does is tries to protect the lawyer, tries to protect the client, and then tries to protect the legal profession. So in everything you do, you can tell a story about yourself, but you shouldn't mislead. You shouldn't exaggerate. You shouldn't be inaccurate. That is what it says in summary. But it allows you to print cards. It allows you to print on official documentation. It allows you to print on your case files and all of those things. However, to the question you asked, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Moderator, because we were striving to act within the constraints of this, everybody was careful. So what did we used to do before technology came? You could only promote yourself, sir, by word of mouth, by reference. So if you did a case very well, that client would tell another client. Another way was that lawyers were able to put up their details in print media. As a lawyer, you can always write an editorial. If you write it well and readers are impressed, they say, oh, that's a good lawyer, and then they refer you to somebody else. What we also used to do was we have what they call legal directories, where maybe 100 most influential lawyers or 100 lawyers in Nigeria. The rules of professional ethics permits you to, put up your name there with all of your details so that anybody in this country or out of the country could, follow up.
You say it's legal what?
Legal lists or directories, sir.
Okay.
Directories, thank you. Yeah, so you could do all of those things. And then another way was by how excellently you did your matter in court. Your excellence, so to speak, spoke for you. So even though there was no technology, people knew who, for instance, Gani Fawemi was. Even if there was no technology, people knew those outstanding judges as at that time. So these are some of the ways lawyers promoted themselves within the confines. Now, the inhibitions or the pitfalls of that kind of method is that it's very limited. Your base is only within these people who know you. So you don't have an international reach, so to speak. You're just, so I don't want to say local champion, but it's just within you, except you're really, excellent. So basically, sir, that's the inhibition.
Thank you. So, you had Mr. Udotai say something about the need to repeal the RPC. Because, for instance, any lawyer that has a website has technically breached the rules of professional conduct. What is your reaction to that comment?
Well, sir, I do not agree. You see, Mr. Udotai was referring to section 39 sub 3. Which says that, amongst other things, you shouldn't even use your photograph in relation to a matter you're involved in. But what he didn't read is the intro to 39 sub 3. The operative word there is solicits for employment. So it is when you're using that picture to tell that story, to solicit for employment, that it becomes a problem. So we need to go back. What is it to solicit? It is first of all to, get people to give you something. so to speak. So if all I do, that is my take, is put my photograph on my website and tell my story, it's like it's like a directory. If I do not go ahead to say, I am asking for this job, I don't think I have solicited or touted. So that is where I disagree with him. Yes.
Well said. And just to add to what you have said, I had a personal experience of applying to recover my money. The bank in London wrote me that they don't want Nigerians to have account in their bank anymore, NatWest. If you are resident outside the UK and you are a Nigerian, the account is closed. So I had the trouble of to take my money out. And they said, if you are bringing a notary public in Nigeria that will sign that they know you, introduction or reference, that notary public must have a website with his picture, with his office address that they can trace via Google. So I couldn't go to any of my neighbors. I had to go for somebody with a website and whose chambers, if you Google it, you will see it in Google Map with the building. That was how they accepted. So it comes to what Mr. Dota has said, that we need to look at our rules of professional conduct, but you can't look at it in isolation. It has to be done along with the mother legislation, that is the Legal Practitioners Act, because that is from where the ban on advertisement started. So we have to liberalize the provision in the Legal Practitioners Act, and then it will now pave way for rules of professional conduct to allow for, a measured form of advertisement by legal practitioners. So the follow-up question to you, Anne, is with the introduction of technology, have lawyers in the 21st century been able to harness their potentials within the restrictive confines of RPC? So as it is now with technology, are we reaping the effect of technology?
I think we are. In fact, the website you speak about is one such evidence. Nobody told us that we could list our credentials on a website within the confines and very cleverly balance. Nobody told us, but with technology, we knew what to do. So we also knew how to use social media to promote our firms. I see a lot of my colleagues here who are wonderful social media gurus. They have managed to maintain a balance within the rules by promoting themselves. How have they done this? They have talked about their areas of expertise without bragging or without soliciting. They have also told stories. Sometimes, like Awele is here, I used to tease her. Apart from the fact that Awele posts, certain tidbits, she answers questions on relevant issues. Sometimes she just posts something motivational or something funny about the legal profession. Now, Mr. Moderator, you will agree with me that most readers who are not lawyers can relate with a lawyer who seems to know what she or he is talking about. In any given field, if they see you writing about certain legal works, they are more likely to reach out to you or to ask you questions in your private box about, and I have gotten clients that way. And in fact, sir, even in the struggle against sexual molestation, technology came to play. Because putting up some of those articles and saying, no, we will not agree to this, a legal professor shouldn't do this, people reached out inbox to say, we can tell our story, we were victims, and all of that. So that's technology. And then we have also been able to, introduce members of our law firms with certain expertise on social media. We have said, for instance, this is Mr. So and so, our new intern, and all that. We have showcased our law work, our body of law, of counsel in our offices. So that helps, sir.
Thank you very much. Finally, for you, and rhetorically speaking, Where do we go from here in the issue of visibility of lawyers in their law practice vis-a-vis technology?
Well, Mr. Chairman, we can only go forward. We can only get better. And first of all, this first thing we should continue to do is continue to use technology to promote the cause of justice in our courts. In fact, to give Delta State credit, the first lawyer I know who moved a motion to have his client testify from abroad is a lawyer, I think, from Asaba. He put up that process on social media. He calls himself Teddy. I think Teddy Idi Better or something. Idia Better. I think Professor, yeah. Teddy was the first person. In fact, I have reached out to him on several occasions to give me the process. So he did the first strange thing. He moved a motion to have his witness swear to the witness statement on oath before the registrar of courts. And I think that was before COVID and all of these things came in. So it was his own initiative. So we need to just think outside the box. So, yeah, immediately he got that motion granted. He had his witness deposed before the registrar of court, and then he just went from there. Now he moved the motion to have the man testify from out of court. So I think he was just a revolutionary in that field. I don't know if he's even here. I haven't seen him. Oh, worry. Okay. So we can only go forward, sir. So I will advocate one. We can do that. Secondly, there's what we call virtual courtrooms or even virtual offices. We can have virtual offices. You know, as long you must not have a client in the town where you are. We should explore that. And another thing I think we can.
I hope virtual office will not become equivalent of charge and bail.
No, sir. I was about to say that all of these things will still be done within the confines of tech. And two things before I conclude. Number one, we can also use artificial intelligence, like the ChatGPT and all of those things. We can also use virtual assistants. Some of these virtual assistants help even in court recordings. So those are all technological tools we can use. And then finally, I will, to this extent, agree with Mr. Odotai that we need to amend the RPC to this extent. I will explain. 39 states in the US now, their rules of professional ethics states very clearly that you must have tech competency. It's part of their RPC. Have technological competence. So it's even a ground for professional misconduct. If you can't give it as an excuse that, oh, I didn't know how to use this tech tool. So we must amend our rule to that extent where it allows us to use technology to even grow our law firms. Thank you.
So our incoming president, I hope people are taking notes. Thank you very much, Dr. Ann. Now we are moving over to a duo of Mrs. Chinwe Ijoma Ejiro Majemite.
Yes.
A guru in her own field. A guru in intersection of technology and law, as well as Steve Azubike, another guru. So the two gurus, they are going to take questions. We start from, there is no lady at the bar, but I will start with Chinwe.
Yes, sir.
So the question for you is, you have worked directly as a bridge between the private and public sectors in applying technology geared towards efficient legal practice.
Yes.
What are the main challenges and barriers to technology adoption in the legal sector in Delta State?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for the privilege for being here with everyone. Okay, so springing from the agile mindset and tutoring children coding for the past 3 years and counting. When the system was introduced, the case management system was introduced, I became like the person on the street meaning working directly with the lawyers and also with the judicial staff. And then some of the problems I found out, especially springing from agility and the children aspect of learning programming, we have overflogged the issue of mindset is a problem. But for me, I feel it is the ability for someone to have a great mindset, to come out of the box and take the bull by the horn by seeing the creative side of tech. That's one major problem with all of us that are lawyers. I'm talking out of experience because I had to go back to the drawing table to learn the creative side of tech, which is programming. It looked as if I abandoned law, but then I had to go back to learn programming languages, understand how these softwares were built, what is connecting them. And that was what made me embrace technology very fast. So that's one of the problems and challenges we are having. Now, the next challenge is lack of shared responsibility on the creative side of technology and its tools. So every average Nigerian has a WhatsApp, but we use it. But when it comes to the creative side of tech, you using the technology product to create something for yourself, it becomes a problem. That's one of the challenges we are also having. That's the same thing we're having with we lawyers on the street, both the public, private, every single lawyer who has not understood the creative side of tech. Now, it cuts across both the network that we are complaining about, lack of shared responsibility on the creative side of technology and its products, including the network, including the computer systems, including the cost of acquiring the relevant tech tools and skills that you need. This is one of the problems and challenges that I saw with my bare eyes and in practice. And this cuts across not just the lawyers, but also the judicial staff. The same. Now, the third thing is the human tech development. Of course, it cuts across mindset too. The average lawyer may not really have that capacity to say, I want to go back to the classroom to learn this thing. And that's the blending between myself, the lawyer, and teaching children coding made me understand that everybody, if you want to learn tech, you must cut across that problem, the human tech development. Now, the last one is lack of shared responsibility on security and data protection. Is on both sides. How are we protecting our data and our security? Securing our data, securing everything we have. That is also a very major problem. Now, I know that whenever a tech product is introduced, it's a solution, but it brings a lot of problems. One other problem that it brings that is very challenging is security. So those are the problems that I saw from my own perspective within the private and the public sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chinwe. Then, Steve, we come to you before we come back to Chinwe again. What steps can be taken to overcome these challenges and promote further technology adoption in Delta State's legal sector?
Thank you, Leonard Steve. I also thank everyone for having me.
Steve, I hope the question, because they are talking about Delta, you practice in Lagos.
Yes.
You have concurrent practice here. Do you? Go ahead.
Thank you, Leonard Steve. I mean, we are drawing perspectives from our neighbors, so we are happy to share ideas with them. So all day I have had the opportunity to listen to a number of issues around the problems and challenges. My Lord Justice Birike Okolosi and the PS and my learned friend have all identified a number of challenges. And I'll be happy to share, in my opinion, what I consider would be some solution that can move us forward. And I want to take them in no particular order. Maybe I'll start with the issue of funding that the PS tried to emphasize. And the quick solution that came to my mind, even while sitting here listening to him, is that, you know, our politicians, I'm referring to our governor and the hierarchy, as it were, the people we go to for the funding we need. I don't want to go into the issue of the independence of judiciary we have been talking about. So a quick solution, in my opinion, is that the judicial arm of government in Delta State can look into the issue of accountability. Put down something a lot more accountable, be a lot more accountable when you need resources to enhance what you are doing in the judiciary by way of enhancing the use of technology. You can also look into reporting. How specific are you with your demand for further funding? If you do not articulate properly, you can have problem with the government. And then I also heard Chinwe say something about data protection. In the whole, when you look at use of technology in the practice of law and how the judiciary in Delta State are commendably going about it, we don't want to forget this issue of data protection. But there's an interesting point that came to my mind. Of course, we are all familiar with what we have with the Nigerian Data Protection Act that has also incorporated the NDPR in trying to take care of data protection and data privacy in the larger society. One may ask, how about the judiciary? And when you look at it, the act and the rules were silent on the judiciary. The reason is because what we do in the judiciary is seen as something that is public. You can't really keep it in. But I read something recently from Ireland. They acknowledged this fact that the judiciary is independent and that what we do there is quite public. But however, they also acknowledged that personal data of data subjects are being processed. And they came up with an idea. They introduced something in the rules of court that removed the power to oversee data protection issues from an agency like the Data Protection Commission and put it in the hands of a judge designated as a data protection supervisor. And is given the power to just do that. They don't want the commission in because they believe that a designated judge can better handle what is going on there. And my Lord Justice Birike Okolosi, I was very happy to hear about the website that is up. Something interesting also occurred to me. If you are going digital the way the Delta State has been doing very well, and you want to launch a website, something connected to data protection is one of the requirements of having something we call a privacy notice, which some people call the privacy policy on their websites. Again, in as much as the judiciary appeared to be excused, I found something recently in the UK. They have what we call privacy notice that was signed up by their top judicial officers, and that notice was really exciting. Perhaps after now we can talk about it. So that notice tends to really clarify for lawyers, litigants, their rights as to data protection and how the judiciary is approaching it, considering the special rules that we apply. So when that website is up, one should expect to see that kind of notice. It shows forward thinking, and I'm really excited about that. I also want to talk about the efficient application of tech tools. So just like Leonard Silk mentioned, in Lagos, we were very happy many years ago. We are very proud, of course, Lagos, we are forward thinking, we are happy. We came up with this e-filing stuff. But before you know it, we started regretting. Why did we even bring this thing? An efficient use of tools is supposed to quicken our work, but it became a problem. So one of the solutions to that, I got a little hint from what the PS is saying, is that the people who work around those tools to ensure that this e-filing is done, the training should be consistent and it goes across board. I also want to say something about appreciating how we appoint members of the judiciary. It will help. People who are tech savvy should henceforth be coming into the system so that we will have plenty of judges like my Lord that everybody had clapped for. Please permit me to say something about this mindset problem that has been talked about a lot. And I want to join my voice to the issue. And I will tell a short story of what we heard Leo Stan Eke tell us some time ago, the founder of Xerox Computers. He did mention that when computer was initially introduced in the civil service, that the guys in the civil service were destroying them. that they were destroying the computers. They were afraid. They were the issue of fear. My Lord mentioned it. So learned gentlemen and ladies, we don't have to be afraid of the computer. I believe that if we really embrace it very much and leave behind this issue of the hard conservative nature of lawyers towards new things. We are too conservative. We need to leave it behind and embrace with open mind what we have in the system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve. You made a good point, but again, no matter the tools you employ, if the operators are dubious, you will continue to suffer frustration. We just saw the off-season election now. With all the efforts for IREV, for BVAS, results are still written ahead of voting. And then eventually it will be uploaded, or eventually they will say INEC has a discretion to use technology or to go back to analog. So we continue to pray that the system we are operating will not allow or give room for technology to be relegated. Chinwe, I'm coming back to you. The question says, what role do you see technology playing in the future in the legal sector in Delta States? Will it, is it something to be cheerful or something to bemoan our fate?
Okay, irrespective of the fact that we all know that technology is something that is positive for everything we do, springing from Law Pavilion when it came out, at least I was very happy when it came out and someone can find cases and judgments that are delivered within 28 to 48 hours. I also want us to understand that whenever a tech product is being produced or is out, it goes through the stages of testing, the human beings are using it, we are seeing the pitfalls and all of that. We should not tell ourselves that these things don't happen. But then, one of the beautiful things that we are going to enjoy, the role technology is going to play, is that it's going to give us seamless and easy access to information, seamless and easy practice, even justice itself. At least there's not going to be, I was not served. My Lord, I wasn't served, especially with the e-filing system. So you can file your process in the middle of the night. At least I was able to assist. We were filing processes even at night. So the seamless and easy method of practice is what we are going to enjoy. And of course, it's going to lead to an increase in economic growth as well. That is one thing about technology products. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever transmitted a record of appeal from the High Court to Court of Appeal in Delta?
Yes, we had one case that is an appeal that we filed. Yes, I don't know if the lawyer is here. From the High Court.
Yes.
I think let my Lord explain.
Well, I wanted to say something, but let my Lord
okay, sir.
Throw some light. I hope we are not venturing out of our time allotted for this session. The presidential aspirants, we are coming for you. Just be ready for your own question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yes, we have not done it yet. This is just the beginning. Okay. But the system, in fact, when I was appointed to administer this, I went to Abuja on my own, and I asked to see the NJC setup for this NCMS. It's something else. They won't show it to any other person. It's a whole area well protected. Then the expectation of the NJC in developing the case management system is to have cases go on appeal seamlessly from the High Court to the Court of Appeal and to the Supreme Court. So like the chairman, Justice Zana, said the last time when he was here, is a system that started from the top to the bottom. And because they started from the top, it's a bit confusing. We ought to start from the bottom, and the bottom of the ladder here is the High Court. So when we finish a case now under this system, which we have just started, appeals, of course, every process filed in a case under the NCMS on the e-filing is online already. So when and judgment, of course, in fact, there's a system whereby when you do a hearing, you can use your phone to scan the proceedings from the record book and upload it without even typing it. Because if you waste time to type, so that, of course, when you upload the original version, you will read it, even though it's handwritten. Like we're reading the statement of witnesses now from the police. We are reading them online. So that process will just be uploaded. All you need to do for your...
The only problem will be handwriting.
The only problem will be handwriting, if the handwriting is not clear. But if it's clear, you read it clearly. And you just upload it straight to the Court of Appeal. When it finishes in the Court of Appeal, it goes to the Supreme Court. So it eliminates paper as a...
Paperless. That's where we are heading to. Paperless system. Finally, Steve, the question for you says, or asks like this: are there any ethical consideration or concern surrounding the adoption of technology in the legal sector in Delta State? Ethical consideration or concerns?
Yes, Leonard Silk. There are a number of ethical considerations, and I wish we can look at this together. This very administration of criminal justice, administration of civil justice law passed by Delta State is truly an exciting piece of legislation. Not only that, it made this one of the overarching objectives, the use of technology. How my mind works in this is that that same law provides that it is capable of becoming an issue of contempt if a lawyer refuses to abide by the obligations of that law. Now, as professionals, we could understand that what that means is that it goes to ethics. Again, if you turn around, our dear sister, Dr. Agi, mentioned something that happened about the U.S. rules of ethics. And she said something about competence. What that really means is that even though I agree we need to amend our rules, even as at this very point, it could become an ethical issue if you forget that competently handling a client's instruction would also include the need to abide by the use of technology. So, for instance, all those lawyers that are no longer filing cases, like my Lord mentioned, it's not because they don't have cases. It could be that they are now delaying the execution of their client's instruction, and it goes to ethics. It becomes an ethical problem. Again, if you refuse to adopt the use of technology, there's a lot of harm that could come to you. And this is how it can manifest and become an ethical issue. If you do not understand everything about data security and you mismanage clients' information, you could be breaching confidentiality rules of the RPC. So, I mean, even your staff in the office, both lawyers, non-lawyers, third-party people you engage for one reason or the other to execute client tasks. If you do not supervise and monitor what they do, using technology or your WhatsApp, everything you are doing is technology, and you are flying things around and you breach certain rights of client and certain obligations you owe these people, it's an ethical problem. So we don't really have a place to hide if we are really going to look at these issues very, very seriously. Leonard,
thank you, Steve Azubike. We now move to the managing director himself, the MD of Law Pavilion. They have two questions for him, but I think I will use my chairman's privilege or discretion to expand it to 4. So Olugasa is not a lawyer, but I think, I don't know whether that law is still there. You know, the body of benchers can call to bar as honorary legal practitioner, somebody who has been so acquainted with practice of law in Nigeria. So, Mr. Okugasa, one day we may call you to bar, even though you will not appear in court.
As the court pleases.
So the question they have for you here is, what, with your background in technology, how has the application of technology impacted the advancement and access to legal services and justice in Nigeria? And they now said, ask further, do you think Delta State will toe the line or blaze the trail? So the gist is the application of technology, how it has impacted. Since you are here, they have mentioned that you have done some contract with Ministry of Justice here. So maybe you are in a position to, in a nutshell, within the few minutes, give us your experience as far as application of technology is concerned in Delta State, judicial system. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, sir. I think I can't exhaust the effect of technology in legal practice within a few minutes, but I'll just speak briefly to each. I have about 4 or 5 points here, and possibly let me even start with what I would call now mundane e-library. In 2007, when we first launched the e-library, of course, the legal industry felt, would this ever come to stay in Nigeria? That judges would not adopt, would not accept electronic law reports. And incidentally, I think the judiciary has come to even adopt it more. For example, it was in 2012 that the Court of Appeal partnered with us so that they can easily read their judgments from any division within 24 hours. And I went back to check the effect of that on the judgments, the speed of justice delivery at the Court of Appeal. I realized that it has improved by over 400%. Before then, Court of Appeal was delivering about 400, 450 judgments per annum every year. Now, Court of Appeal delivers over 2,600 judgments every year, and that is a very big improvement. I have heard a number of judges tell me that, look, Okpe, now I give bench ruling. Now, as I said, that is now mundane, going by the pace at which technology is affecting everything. Let me speak briefly about how artificial intelligence is also affecting the practice. And I'm sure, I think later today, there will still be a full-fledged session on that. Now, it's such that before now, people did not, when we were talking of artificial intelligence in legal practice, people really didn't understand so much until ChatGPT came out that could generate content for us. And what I've seen is a number of lawyers are really using it. But what I've also realized is that it has the potential of increasing the speed as well as the scope of legal practice. So what you can do in 2 hours, what you can draft in 3 hours, with artificial intelligence, you can draft it in 30 seconds or in 3 minutes. People have always asked the question, will artificial intelligence replace lawyers? And I think I was having a discussion with Mr. Rotimi Ogunyemi, my apologies, earlier this morning. And we both agreed that, look, artificial intelligence definitely is doing a lot in that space, but it will never replace lawyers. However, artificial intelligence will, lawyers that use artificial intelligence are the ones that will replace lawyers that do not use artificial intelligence. And I will explain briefly how that is going to happen. Now, what we are seeing is that artificial intelligence is shortening the or shrinking the gap of experience. In the sense that if you have spent 30 years at the bar, you have done a lot of things. You've done a lot of processes, so you have that breadth and wealth of experience. But someone that has spent just 10 years at the bar does not, and definitely has not handled as much processes as you are. But with artificial intelligence, because that person just has a basic understanding, with artificial intelligence that is able to curate a lot of data, and that's what ChatGPT is doing all over the place. I will not say much on that, because in the session, I'm sure they will talk more on it. But what it helps you to do is that it gives you that breadth of experience. And I will give a simple example, using the Delta State Ministry of Justice as an example. Now, imagine all the data gathered in Delta State Ministry of Justice. So General Sir, forgive me, how many years now has the ministry been in existence? About 13 years. So you can imagine all the files, the case files, all the contracts that have been drafted, and they are all there in the archives. With artificial intelligence, what it's doing to the system is that when it's digitized and then the system learns it, if a new counsel, young counsel comes up and is drafting something, is drafting a response, what the system does is it goes into the scanned data in the archives and then brings out relevant issues that you have done before, so that the person is not reinventing the wheel. And this is also applicable to every law firm. So if each law firm has its own organizational knowledge management, that the data you have, the files you have, are no longer gathering dust, but they are tools for quality of work in your firm, then it completely changes the game. Now, what will then happen is even senior lawyers that have not embraced the artificial intelligence will be easily, permit the use of my word, fossilized by young lawyers, because all the work that the experience you have built over the years, artificial intelligence can quickly help you glean them and then provide for them points of argument that they should follow. And these are the changes we are seeing, how it's affecting the system. It's also throwing up new practice areas. I was still discussing with Mr. Ogunyemi this morning, and I think this is one I would really talk about. Look, it's a major disservice for the legal profession in Nigeria if we fail to adopt technology as we should. And I'm so glad, and I think the Asaba NBA should actually have a bigger round of applause for choosing this theme for this event. I just came back from IBA, and of course the latest sick was there, and I was discussing a particular Chinese lawyer came to our exhibition stand, and she told us that in their law firm they have 15,000 lawyers. And in my head, one law firm, I mean, the whole of Lagos, the two Lagos branches, both Lagos and Ikeja, they are not up to 15,000. But that's just one law firm. But yes, China is big. But what baffled me was when she said they are just beginning to open some branches, some hubs in Africa. And they mentioned Kenya and South Africa. And I felt very bad. That look, where is Nigeria in the scheme of things? Now, what it means is that if we do not quickly step up, because the East Africans and the South Africans are fast adopting technology. And that's why a Chinese company can easily find patronage in such places. Now, what we will likely do if we don't handle this as a matter of urgency is that we will shortchange ourselves. And let me say this before I round up. In 2014, we sponsored an IBA event doing business in Africa. It was in New York. And Thomson Reuters came to say that 80% of legal transactions in Africa, consumed in Africa, are actually being handled by foreign law firms. And so in my head, so the big law firms in Africa are just doing 20%. Now, AFSTA is coming in, and I'm sure we're all aware of the African Free Continental Trade Zone. There is globalization, and this is where technology is also coming in. With globalization, we can only talk so much, we can only restrict it so much. It will definitely come to bear, even in Nigerian practice. Now, what will be the major disservice we do to ourselves if we don't adopt technology is that will allow the lawyers in East Africa and South Africa to take over what we have in Nigeria. So I'm appealing that it's not just that, we need to have a mind shift. It's a sustainability strategy for the legal profession in Nigeria. We must adopt IT, we must adopt technology, we must adopt AI. And we have a lot of trailblazers on this. Let me end on this one. In terms of the criminal justice system, I heard the Honorable Solicitor General talking about the issues of witnesses. Look, technology can help us even have virtual witnesses, but more importantly, even crowdsourced witnesses. So there are scenes of crime, and we watch this in the movies. You can actually people can take the picture, take the video recording, and then send it to a particular site where everything is stored on blockchain. So there is that, you can guarantee the authenticity of what is there. But what this will do is that the Ministry of Justice easily has good store of evidence on any issue that has happened, on any criminal transaction and criminal activity. And with that, it's easier to prosecute matters. I mean, as I've said earlier, there is a lot that technology is doing. But for now, let me just say this few words.
Thank you very much, Managing Director of Law Pavilion. If we allow you today, 2 hours will not be enough. I think you have answered the second question in a way, but just let me put it. You can answer it in less than 2 minutes. Are there any ethical consideration or concerns? The same question Mr. Steve was asked. Surrounding adoption of technology in the legal sector in Delta States.
There are quite a lot, sir, candidly. One, as the vote said, is the issue of data privacy. Now, if you are using artificial intelligence and you are uploading, for example, you can upload your, the client's story, and then the system can generate useful information for you. But the thing you should consider is when you are sending up that data, you are also breaching the privacy of your client. So, and a way to do this is ensure there is anonymization of content so that you are not sending the actual credentials or particulars of your client. That's one of the ethical issues that needs to be looked into. Another one is that every law firm, and I think Mr. Stephen has said that, every law firm needs to have called an internal data privacy policy or an internal data policy. Because you may be careful, but the IT guy handling your files may not be careful because he doesn't even know the implications. And then you find some of your data on LinkedIn or whatever, or on Facebook. So those are key things that we need to do. At times they open just any email. Meanwhile, they are phishing sites, and therefore all the content of the computer is taken up. These are things that we must deliberately look into, and that's why I said you must have your internal data policy. The third one, which is one of the ethical issues, is, as they say, computer or technology is garbage in, garbage out. Especially when it comes to AI. And if you train the AI with wrong information, wrong data, it will also advise you wrongly. And these are things we are seeing. In fact, Lord Justice Kanye was making that joke with me 2 days ago at the NJI. He said, okay, so you are telling us, because there's something we just introduced to the judiciary that helps to evaluate the written addresses and comes up, just like a legal assistant. And said, okay, so you are saying that this will give me legal opinions, and then you have trained it with Nigerian cases. What then happens since you have both trained it with the conflicting, the two sides of conflicting judgments, what then will the AI advise me? Of course, we laugh over it, but it's a critical matter, and these are issues that need to be looked into, taken into consideration and looked into.
Thank you very much, Ope Olugasa. Thank you so much. Now, because of time constraint, we will put on hold a way of an adjustment of the program. Our presidential aspirants, they are here and there. They are ubiquitous. So already they are itching to go away for another program somewhere. So we have to throw their own questions so that we can discharge them from this bondage here. They have been here with us since last night. They have sold their products and they want to leave. Let my people go. So, gentlemen, I hope the microphone is there for them to now answer the questions. I'm sure there are questions there. If any of them emerges, they will be facing it from day to day about technology and our legal profession. So Mazi Osigwe is the first person they say I should throw the question to. As a senior partner in your law firm, I think your law firm is Law Fortress. Law Fortress, okay? How can technology impact legal practice, particularly in the advisory and litigation practice? Then they have a follow-up here. What are the challenges encountered and what is the way forward? Thank you, Mazi.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, there's no podium for them to...
On a lighter note, let me say that there is no intention of being released from any bondage. We are glad to be here. Just like I said to the organizers, I have to do a dinner speech to students of the Nnamdi Azikiwe University, and the program starts at 4, and I've given them my words, and I have to be there. Now, I'd like to tell a quick story. In 1987, October precisely, Nokia was the dominant mobile phone company. By 2007, Nokia's share of the market has reduced to 50%. By 2013, Nokia was on the verge of bankruptcy. And their share of the market had reduced to 5%. And when Microsoft came to bail them out from bankruptcy, the MD or the chief executive of Nokia was reported to have said, "We did nothing wrong, yet we failed." So to answer that question, I earlier on realized that with the advent of technology, with the changing face of legal practice, with the changing face of the market for legal services or legal services industry, where you don't need to be in the same location to render services to clients, or where you need the web or the internet to market your legal services. And by the way, Basil Udotai got it wrong when he says that having a website violates the rules of professional conduct. Rule 39.1 permits you to advertise and promote your legal services subject to the conditions stated therein. So I realized that early that the principle is innovate or die. So dying means that your practice will not thrive and do well like the Aluko and Oyebode people, Lawcrest, Templars, and the rest of them. And for us who came from the village, who did not have many years of pupillage, who had to start our own private law practice at the time, that for us to be counted among serious practitioners, that we have to do things out of the ordinary. So we had to utilize our writing skills, we had to network, we had to use the social media, we had to use the internet to be visible, to be seen, to be counted among the giants. And in doing this, we are not unmindful of the challenges. Stevens has talked about violation of confidentiality. So we also realize in doing some of this, you have to be careful what kind of information you give out concerning your clients. And make sure that when you use email or some other forms of communicating, that you don't inadvertently send out confidential information concerning your client to the wrong person. That you don't discuss your client's case just in a bid to show that you're doing something. And that where you have to discuss cases like in arbitration, you may have to redact them. And that in utilizing the internet, that you need to ensure you have enough security so as not to have a security breach. And that in dealing with persons, in trying to reach out to foreign personnel, that you also have to be careful that you don't become the victim of malicious attack. And then, at the cost of it, you also have to be sure that your business will be able to sustain the cost of retaining some of these technological advances that help you to maintain your practice. And then what is the effect on human relations? You also have to be careful that the interpersonal relations, which are very important or crucial for the sustenance of a work environment, that makes a work environment a place you want to be. And I remember that when you start work, You spend more than 60% of your lifetime in your workplace. So you have to stay with people. So you have to make that environment human-friendly, so that it's not so technologically driven that you see human beings as nothing more like mere persons you work with. So you have to ensure that the technological interference in your businesses does not reduce the workplace to a non-personal place. So the fear also that the deployment of technology may make you lose staff. So you may invest so much in technology that you downsize the number of human beings you work with. So you need to find a gap. And then also in using technology for legal research to ensure that you cross-check whatever result you get. Because we have this false belief that if it is written, if I saw it on the internet, it must be true. For those of us who use Wikipedia, be warned, people like me and you can write and post there. So don't think because you saw it on Wikipedia, it is true. You remember the case of the Chat GPT, where somebody went to do research and they gave them fake cases. Always bear that in mind, that technology can also be misleading. I wish I had a longer time to talk about it, but just to say, as we innovate, we also should not lose our common sense. We should also know that there's human factor that is very important in moderating what we do to ensure that technology gives us the best. But know that if you fail to change with the changing times, you'll be left behind. We need to be up to speed with what is happening in the world and use them to the benefit of our practice to maximize what we're able to earn from legal services and make better ourselves, and must also keep retraining ourselves, because without that, we can't go far. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Mazi Afam Osigwe, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Emeritus General Secretary of NBA and Life Venture. The next question goes to his brother, Mr. Tobenna Erochikwe. And Tobe, the question says, as a partner in your firm and as chairman of governing board of the MBA Institute of Continuing Legal Education, how has technology impacted legal practice, particularly in the areas of finance and energy, as well as in the MBA ICLE? I believe that this question, you can even write a book on it.
Thank you.
Just try as much as possible to compress.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So first of all, when my friend and brother, Mr. Andy Odum, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, called me a few months ago to discuss this law week and his topic, and the faculty was assembled, called names like Basilu Dotai and Rotimi Ogunyemi. I said to myself, are you sure we're going to have a physical session, or is it going to be virtual? Because these men are going to the moon, but I'm happy that I have the privilege of standing before you to speak and to answer the questions that's been raised. Two limbs to this question, I'm going to be very brief on it. My personal practice, how has technology affected it? Now, the first thing is that my own background has given vent to the way I approach technology. I grew up in a university community. I practiced in other parts of the world, including England. And some of the things we're seeing today, we did 10 years ago in England. So my orientation is that the only thing a human being has not created is what he hasn't imagined. And this tells you that you must, as of necessity, keep abreast of things. It will overtake you whether you like it or not. Think about it. The 5 richest men in the world today are not just tech investors. They are technologists. From Elon Musk to Jeff Bezos to Bill Gates, they are all technologists. And what it means is the only way they make their money is that they've been able to invent to the point that we all subscribe to their inventions, and they're making a lot of money out of it. Now, I'll just make a quick point about how technology operates. Somebody talking earlier on talked about, I think it was Basil, talking about Nigerians and 419. Technology is what you do with it. A guy called Alfred B. Noble, because technology is almost as old as humanity. What is it? It's the use of science, right, to improve our circumstances and our environment. So a guy called Alfred B. Noble invented the dynamite. The reason why he invented the dynamite was for us to use the power in the dynamite to excavate minerals from under the ground. And then people started using it as explosives for war. This man was so infuriated. In fact, when his brother died, an obituary was written because they thought he was the one that died, that the man that had killed so many people has now died. Now the man felt so bad that what did he do? He instituted the Nobel Prize. That is technology. It can be used for good or for bad. Now my personal practice, I always tell a story. One time I went to the village to spend time with my parents. They normally do 2 months when my dad was still alive. So I went in to spend time with them, and I had a call. And I picked up the call. Hi, Jim, what's going on? Oh, can we have a meeting? Blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, fine, no problem. I went upstairs, put on my shirt, put on my tie, came back, put on my laptop. My mother was still there. I didn't know she was observing. I was drinking palm wine and having a little bit of pepper soup by the side. When the Igbo people connected, we started talking. And after about 2 hours, hey, I was still wearing my shorts, so just shirt, tie, because that's the only thing they can see. I'd done 2 hours. I finished. I called Jane in my office. Jane, I just spent 2 hours with these guys. Can you send them a bill? It's £550 an hour. We are done. Thank you very much. My mom just said, just like that. I said, I'm nah, and that was from Nnewi, not Lagos. So what it means is, he talked about globalization. That's what it is. The world is becoming borderless. If you don't have technology, use and knowledge of technology as a tool for development and enhancement of your practice, you're literally dead. When the chairman of the branch spoke, he actually referred to my favorite quote in the world, and that was from Justice Chukwudifo Puta. If you're not growing, you're descending the precipice of death. Technology is about growth. And I must commend Asaba branch and indeed the Law Week Committee for choosing a very apposite topic that defines what we are doing. We go to a lot of law weeks and they give esoteric topics that you don't know what value they have to you. This one, I tell you, is valuable. If you go home with the fact that technology is something you need to survive, that it is an existential issue, you've gone home with everything. So, in my office, yes, case management systems, we use them. What does it do for us? It's a repository of everything that is done. If my associate calls me now and says, oh, we have a call that this case, I just say RX 4455. Person goes into that case, he sees everything that's gone on, all the emails, everything is there, right? We use all forms of technology. In my office, I think that the challenge that we have for technology is we have a huge office space that's very expensive. And I said to my partner the other day, why do we need this office space? Because the younger ones in my office are more technologically advanced than ourselves. So we're actually doing what you call a reverse mentorship. Now them, they teach me AI, teach me everything. Now they've told us they cannot work 5 days a week. Why should they work 5 days a week? They are working 3 days a week. They don't do Tuesdays, they don't do, because the guy wants to talk to me, I'm in Asaba, let's do a Zoom connection. We are seeing ourselves, we are talking. He's working. The case management system is recording his hours. We know that he's working. That is the beauty of technology. We don't have a lot of time. I'll go to the MBA ICLE because that is my baby. That's what I like to talk about. What have we done with technology there? Can we imagine that today, a record I don't know that we have anywhere in the world, 10,000 lawyers have logged on to one training in one day. Because it's not just to talk about it, it's to show how it works. And as a result, when the IBA heard about it, they invited us to come and talk about it. We wouldn't have achieved it if there was no technology. It was just Zoom, and everybody was connected. And I vowed to myself that whatever I do in my life, there must also be an opportunity for those who cannot be in the room to participate. Right? Everything we do with ICLE is actually technology. The emails that are sent out to you is technology. The WhatsApp platforms where you get the links is technology. The Google Forms that you use to fill up is information technology. Then the masterclass is that we have a first of its kind in the world repository of knowledge, a YouTube channel that houses over 200 training sessions, which means that you can go at any time and find resource delivered by the best in the world there at no cost whatsoever. It is technology. It is the beauty of technology. Then the second angle I'll go to is our mentorship initiative. Everything we're doing on the mentorship initiative is technology. We're actually building what we call a subject matter specific virtual room for training and development and mentorship. So if our young lawyers have 100 or 200 of them who are doing litigation, they have mentors real time mentoring them on their development It's technology. The communication that we have, the mentors that we have on a one-to-one basis, they're not all in the same place. Some of them are in London, some of them are in America, but we're encouraging the use of technology. My final word to you is this. There are things that you cannot avoid. If you cannot avoid something, you better put yourself ahead of it. It is not a matter of what I need to do. It's a matter of what I have to do to survive. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Tobenna Erojikwe. I forgot to mention that Tobenna is a member of National Judicial Council, representing Nigerian Bar Association. And they have a task before them. We read yesterday that some justices have been shortlisted for elevation to the Supreme Court. Let's hope that the NJC will not confirm those who are analog among them. And I hope Tobenna will lead the crusade that if any of those nominees cannot use their laptop to type a judgment, they should remain at the Court of Appeal. Thank you, Tobenna. I forgot to also acknowledge, it has been given to me more than 20 minutes ago, the presence, I hope, in our midst, I hope she's still here, of my Lord, Honorable Justice Shade Olubanjo, the judge of the Federal High Court, Asaba Division. And typical of my Lord in her simplicity and humility, she just quietly sat in the middle of the crowd that even the litigants sitting or lawyers appearing before her will not know that a judge was sitting beside the person. So my Lord, thank you very much. We wish you are in the what they call high table or in the front row. But since you chose to be there, and Mr. Odum, oh, okay. Oh, my Lord, okay, I was looking elsewhere. Thank you, thank you. So, gentlemen, let's take the final question for the third NEWI aspirant. And he's a senior partner, a very senior partner in a leading law firm in Nigeria, Aluko and Oyebode. Gentlemen, we have before us Mr. Ikweazo Chukwuka Ikweazo. Ikweazo is also our emeritus chairman, MBA Lagos branch, and in law practice, his area of specialization, even though he's a general practitioner, but his main area is taxation. So the question I've been asked has to do with a bias on the issue of taxation. The question is, as a senior partner in your law firm, how has technology impacted legal practice, particularly in the field of taxation? What are the challenges encountered, and what is the way forward? You saw your brother, so I won't cut your time. If you know what the time Tobenna used, use the same time. Go ahead.
Tobenna used 20 minutes. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, or good afternoon, distinguished colleagues. It's my pleasure to be here this afternoon. I think that the appropriate place for me to start is to commend the Delta State government. In 2017, when I was the chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association Lagos branch, the branch set up a judiciary committee that was chaired by Mrs. Funke Adekoya, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. In 2018, that committee did work that I consider to be phenomenal. That committee worked with a body, an organization called JICN, Justice in Commerce Network, to produce a model administration of civil justice bill. Why am I commending the Delta State government? The product of the work that collaboration brought about, Delta State would be the second state to enact that bill into law after Ekiti State. That's the administration of civil justice law of Delta State. And that was why a few weeks ago, as the Solicitor General mentioned, myself, Tunde Fabohunlu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, one of my partners, Tunde Ajibade, Fernandez Makosubiene, we were invited to do a training for judiciary on that law in Delta State. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make that trip. So, having provided that commendation, let me go straight to answer the question that have been asked. And I'll tell a short story. So in 2008, my firm was representing one of the foremost tobacco manufacturing companies in Nigeria in a number of cases that were filed by the attorneys general of different states. So we were working with two international firms, a law firm in England called Hogan Lovells, and another law firm in the US called Chadbourne and Park. So I was working with a gentleman called Chris Armstrong from Hogan Lovells on that brief. And then a few months later, we got another instruction and we were working with another senior associate in the same Hogan Lovells. So I traveled to London to have a meeting with them. And I was meeting with this gentleman and I casually asked him, "How is Chris Armstrong?" The guy turned and looked at me and said, "Who the hell is that?" Now, these are two senior associates in the same firm. They do not know each other. Because Hogan Lovells in London at that time had close to 1,000 lawyers and many partners. Now, when you run that kind of law firm, you cannot achieve anything without technology. I'm a partner in a law firm called Alukanoebode. We don't have 1,000 lawyers. But across our 3 offices, we have over 100 lawyers, about 22 partners. It is impossible to run that kind of practice without the use of technology. So the short answer to the question I've been asked is that everything about my firm, the management of the firm, financial hygiene of the firm, everything is driven by technology. So there is a software that we have that provides a system whereby technology is used to connect all the operational functions of the firm, whether it be finance, whether it be accounting, whether it is client management, whether it is marketing, whatever it is. So I get to the office in the morning and I log on to that software. It's called Deltec. Deltec. So let me backtrack a bit. When we are onboarding a client, if we are taking instruction, the first thing we do is to open a matter number. So every client of the firm has a client number. Every instruction has a matter number. So if I walk into the office and I log on to Deltec and I want to start work, the first thing I do is that I enter the matter number and then the client number. That software automatically, I enter the work that I'm doing. If I'm drafting a brief, I put it in there. That software automatically tracks the time I am spending doing that work. Because a lot of the work we do in my firm, we bill on an hourly basis. At the end of the month,
on hourly,
some of the work that we do hourly billing. So without technology, what would happen is that every lawyer that is working on a transaction would have to sit down, go through their emails, and then remember that on Tuesday, the 17th of October, I drafted this. That's what you will do without technology. But with technology, just by punching a tab on your computer, you get the number of hours that every lawyer in the firm has spent doing work for a particular client. So the statement of fees that we send to the client that forms the basis of our billing, we don't have to write it manually. This software tracks every expense that is incurred on behalf of a client. So if I ask a client to make a deposit on account of expenses of X amount, and I need to go to Abuja to represent the client, my PA will do what we call a travel advance request. That will be done on Deltec because everything is done on the system. Once that is done and disbursement is made for me to go, Deltec automatically captures the fact that that expense was incurred. The total value of that expense is incurred, and automatically deducts it from the deposit that the client has made. So that if the deposit has been fully spent, the same Deltec will prompt to say, you have used up the deposit, it is time for you to get the client to make an additional deposit. So everything from client management. So every client of the firm has a record. The key contact people in the client, their records are there. One of the things that we do not do well as lawyers in Nigeria is client management, right? Because you find that where two lawyers are equally competent and a client has an option of instructing either of the clients, what happens most of the time is that the client will instruct that lawyer that, apart from being competent, has a very good relationship with the client. So Deltec does things like remind you that it is Chief Emeka Ngige, let's say Chief Emeka Ngige is general counsel in the client organization. It reminds you that it is his birthday, that you need to pick up a phone and call him to wish him a happy birthday. So everything from case management, at the end of the day, if I go to court and I come back, someone will do a court memo and upload it on Deltec. Deltec processes the information. Then note the next adjourned date. So on Thursday, if we are going to have our litigation meeting on Friday, Deltec produces a cause list for you that shows all the matters that are going to come up the following week. So the point I'm making is, there is no substitute for technology. I read a book that was written by an English gentleman called Richard Susskind. And that book is End of Lawyers, in quote. And in that book, the argument that Richard Susskind made is that technology is not here, and I think the MD of Law Pavilion made the point. Technology is not here to take over the work that lawyers do. What technology does is that people who use it will eventually take over the work that people who don't use it are currently doing for lawyers. So we must, as Mazi said, innovate or die. We have to start doing things differently. Legal services have to be delivered in ways that are not as traditional as what we used to do. Now, let me just talk about the challenges. For me, talking about my firm, the biggest challenge I have seen is the reluctance of people to adapt to change. People do not want to adapt to change. When you're telling them that, look, you have to do things differently. So there are still many lawyers in my firm who will not use this Deltec. And what have we done? We have made it an appraisal issue. So if, as an associate, you do not fill in your timesheet, record the time that you have spent doing work, at the end of the month, you will not get paid. If, as a partner, I do not approve time entries, I don't get paid as well. So you see that the biggest challenge, like I said, is getting people to voluntarily comply and use technology. So you must devise a way to compel them to do so. But let me leave you with this saying. Technology is disrupting everything. The law and the practice of law cannot be an exception. We must all get ready to adapt. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chuka Ikwazom, SAN. Gentlemen, we have heard from the three leading aspirants. Like Mr. Udota said, MBA will be richer with any of them becoming our president. You have heard from them. They're all very articulate. They're all intelligent. They're all technology savvy. And they're up to date with current trends in the profession. So we are proud of you, gentlemen. There was a move to amend the constitution of MBA before the Katakata at the annual general conference. And what was the amendment? They said that if 3 people contest the election, the first person will be president, the runner-up, vice president, the second runner-up, third vice president. So, yeah, but it didn't come to pass. So, we wish it passed so that these 3 gentlemen, we make use of them in the MBA because they have a lot to offer. So we won't allow 3 of them with just 1 person and the other 2 will be wasting. But no problem. All of them are young. So even if any of them didn't get, they can still try again. So gentlemen, thank you very much. On behalf of the MBA Asaba and the organizing committee, we wish to thank you for spending your time since yesterday and being with this law week of the Asaba branch. And as you are taking your leave to other destinations, we wish you journey mercies and God's protection. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, before we proceed further, in our midst also is a bar person for excellence. In our days at the MDA NEC, she was traveling with us from one branch to another for NEC meeting. Eventually, Delta State snatched her from us and brought her to the bench of Delta State High Court. And speaking of no other person than Honorable Justice Flora Azinge, Justice of High Court of Delta State. A bar woman par excellence. And she remains like that. That's why she will make her time. I think she's resting from her election petition in Kanu, where they contended with people with red hats and then delivered their judgment. I think the judgment of the appeal will be delivered today. I don't know whether it has been delivered. The Kanu State governorship. So, my Lord, you are welcome. So, we are back to regular programming, as they will say. Obe, I have one question for you. And I will say I will apologize. I'm not putting you on the spot, but I'm looking at it from the young lawyers' point of view. First of all, I want to commend you for also the partnership you had with the NBA, whereby young lawyers were given a PRIMSO, for their devices, and I think free of charge. Yes, if you are under 5. So I think it was under, but is the current regime continuing with it? That is number 1 question. Okay. Then number 2 is there is another part of your software for law reports which works without internet. I'm trying to remember the name now. Yeah, Prime. So, having made so much from that Prime, has time not come when you make Prinso to work without internet? Is it possible to work like Prime, the Primsol, so that the young lawyers, if they have network issues, they can still access the law reports and do their work. Microphone, please. Microphone. We are now talking about access to justice and access to technology.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, sir. So the two, Prime is just the offline version of Primsol, or rather, Primsol is the online version of Prime. Yeah. But we haven't made enough money from Prime. Because what happens is the support that Prime will require is a little bit heavier than the online version, because that one requires us to support individual computers. And in some cases, if they have computers that do not even have the necessary specifications, there'll be a lot of complaints, oh, it's slow, it's not working. Meanwhile, many times it's about the computer. But if they have access online, it's a server, so it becomes easier. The only thing they are contending with is just the internet, and that's why. But as you have mentioned it, we'll look into it, sir.
Thank you very much. So, gentlemen, at this stage now, we are prepared to take questions, even though we are running out of time. Mr. Odum, do we see take questions from the audience? Okay, they say we have only 5 minutes to go. The other panel is already here. So, just 2 questions from the audience. Any question for any of the speakers here? If you can raise your hand. If you want us to close at this juncture. Okay, is anybody raising his hand? Please give him the mic, or her. Who is? The light is covering my vision, so no question. Okay. So, gentlemen, we are coming towards the end, but okay, come nearer. Introduce yourself. Where's the mic? Is it comment or question? Please, just take one. Ask question, please.
Okay, let me just...
And direct it to a particular person.
Yes, my question will be directed to the distinguished Justice Okolosi.
Okay.
Yes, and from everything he said, he has spoken so well and demonstrated the efforts of the Delta State Judiciary to integrate law into legal practice and the administration of justice. But one of the things I want to point out and I want to ask is, cybersecurity concern is a reality. It's a reality, that's the word. You have to factor it into every process and procedure. So to cancel it from our mind that there is never going to be an attempt to breach the security systems and the infrastructure that has been set up.
Hacking.
It's going to be, no. It's a reality. It's eventually going to happen. So I want to know what the judiciary is doing actively. If it means training young lawyers, training judiciary staffs to be security conscious, not just data privacy now, but cyber security. So what are some measures and some things the judiciary is doing to, address cyber security concerns?
Thank you very much. What I would say quickly is that being here as a discussant in this topic has taught me a lot of things. Our friend mentioned doing the private policy and also giving a privacy notice. I told the CJ yesterday, I was picked to do this because of my interest in computing, but I have no training in any of these things. So coming to a place like this is very important because I've learned a lot. I've learned more than you sitting in front of me, and I've taken my notes that I'm going to do. In fact, as I was sitting here, I sent a message to the web designer. We must do a draft privacy notice and also a draft privacy policy for the website. So certainly, we are looking into it as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Gentlemen, I don't think there's any more question. Is any of the speakers interested in making a closing shot of 30 seconds? Any? Okay. Let's start from
The name is Okpe. Okpe. You must sound the K. Because when you kept calling Okpe, and I asked him, I know Yoruba now, it's not thank you.
Thank you, sir. All I would say is that technology is throwing open opportunities for global work. So please use your LinkedIn profile properly. Open your minds for practice, not just within Asaba, within Delta State. You can be here and you can work for firms in Lagos, anywhere in the world. So please, let's just open our minds up to such opportunities given to us by technology. And I think this goes to our chairman, which I'm sure possibly the law school is looking into. I think there's need to introduce technology and possibly AI in the curriculum of the law school so that the new set of lawyers are also very adept in application of technology in law. Thank you very much.
What you say? I would like to stand because I've been told to stand many times by my watch. And I've been forced to sit down. So let me stand, if you don't mind. We must not stop echoing this. Do not be afraid of technology, of the computer, of the phones. You know, most of us use the smartphones. We only make calls, do WhatsApp. But you can do a lot more things. Is that not so? Our phones today are small computers. Some of them are even bigger than the desktop that we had in those days. I remember in the year 2000, the Delta State government, during the civilian administration of Ibori, computers were bought for judges. And when I got my own, because I was already into computing, I set it up myself and started using it. My secretary started using it since I had my own personal one. But what did we see? We found that I got to a judge's office once, and I found his old computer lying on the floor. That was in 2000, 2001. It had not been opened. I said, what is wrong with this thing? I said, I don't know. They didn't send anybody to do it for me. So I had to now set it up for my colleague at that time. So some of us are doing it this way now. Please, if you have not registered if you don't have your legal mail and you have not registered your chambers, come to the office. The lady is there to assist you. Our MBA donated her, I don't know, donated her to judiciary and is also working for. We also asked her to charge some money to. So if he charges you money after, I think the free time has gone now. The free time has gone. So if you go to her, she will teach you how to do any of this. And she has a contact of the legal mail representative in Abuja so that they can easily set up your legal mail. It makes things easy for us. Why? Because if we have two lawyers who have legal mail and you are in a case, serving of processes is seamless. Because once one lawyer files a process, he just click it, and of course, the thing lands up in your mail and you will see it. So it's not a problem anymore. The bailiff still has his job, all right, but the system will tell you the process has already been served. Does it not make my job easier as a judge? It does, because you will no longer come and argue that you have not been served. And the administration of civil justice law has also made one provision there, the provision that says if you are not going to oppose the motion, just put a notice of no contest. I think there's a word they use like that. Thank you.
Dr. Agi.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to say three things very quickly. One, as a member of the Council of the Bar, and we have just amended the new remuneration order, I just want to appeal to us colleagues to try and utilize that order. Try and use technology, try and abide by the order. It's for our own good. The presidential candidates are all talked about billing by the hour. You know, the new order says something about that. If we do not abide by it, we shoot ourselves in the foot. I hear people saying, if I say it, this client will not agree, he will go to another person. It's like technology, it's gradual. They will get there if we all keep insisting. That's number one. Number two, as a space lawyer, so I cannot close without saying something about space law. The MC had said that he doesn't want me to keep talking about going to space. I just wanted to correct the impression that space law is not just about going to space. Everything we are doing here is space law. The technology we are using to, send out some of these messages, WhatsApp, Zoom, whatever, is all space tech. We like to
So
think.
space law and internet law are the same, Abi?
Exactly. So I would like to say that we should all get interested in space law. And then finally, so I want to commend the MBA Asaba branch. When you see a branch that is organized, you know. You know. There's just something about, there's a calmness in the hall that I don't know how to, there's an aura about the branch, and I just want to say you're amazing. Even your brochure, I'm a member of MBA Calabar branch, sir. The ESCO members don't take pictures with the MBA necktie. But if you look at page 2 of your brochure, you're so organized that everybody had the necktie, and it's just amazing. And they didn't stop there, even the YLF at the end of the page, you know. So you're just an amazing branch. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ann. You can see also a bad person by excellence. And Ann, your job is coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Leonard.
Just 30 seconds. Don't emulate others, please.
Okay, I just want to say two things. The first is, I want to encourage us. We've heard a whole lot about technology, and there is a tendency to forget that we can actually start from the basic ones. Don't be overwhelmed. Don't feel overwhelmed about the deltas, about the very sophisticated ones. We can actually build the capacity gradually from the very base. And that also means that you have to also watch how you invest in technology. You don't just invest anyhow. You invest gradually as you would need it and as your practice will grow. Then there's also one more point I want to mention about how we approach some of the rules we find even in the administration of civil justice law. For instance, application for virtual hearing. I learned something from my Lord Justice Osiago of the Federal High Court and my Lord Justice Oji of the National Industrial Court. And that is this: before Justice Osiago, I had approached the court with the mindset that we are going to do a virtual hearing. My witness is in the UK. I will just tell the court this, give the court this information, and we just ride with it. The registry I had informed the day before, written a letter to the counsel on the other side, and she acknowledged she received it. On the day of hearing, the witness was ready. The court has set up the virtual hearing. My learned friend stood up and told the court that there is no motion or notice for virtual hearing. And I was surprised. My Lord Justice Osiago said, no, counsel, we are ready. You got the letter telling you about virtual hearing, so forget about motion or notice. My Lord Justice Oji, in her own case, I was before her. I asked my Lord, we are expecting to do virtual hearing on the next adjourned date. She said, fantastic. So I said, my Lord, and that is our wish. She turned to the other counsel and said, is that fine? The counsel said, where is my motion or notice? In fact, my Lord said, I don't even need a letter. Once you tell me now you are fine, I will put it in my record. Virtual hearing on the next agenda. So learned gentlemen, let's forget about too much application. It also doesn't help us.
Okay, so a law is only as good as its implementation. So no matter how fantastic the administration of criminal justice law is, no matter how fantastic the administration of civil justice law is, if it's implemented wrongly, then it's as good as no law. Now, the transition period for both laws ends on the 22nd of December this year. It means that every single one of us, I know if I even take a census now, half of the lawyers in Asaba have not read both laws, from page 1 to the end. So we need to get to grips with it. Please, we have a very short time. We're already in November. By December 22nd, the laws come into full effect. So every court will apply the administration of civil justice law and administration of criminal justice law. Please, in this short time, I will urge my colleagues, all lawyers, please get to grips with both laws.
Thank you very much. Jinwen.
Okay. They say charity begins at home. Your home is your mindset towards advancing yourself with technology tools. So just embrace it. It's not just not being afraid of computers, but please do not be afraid of using software tools. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, gentlemen, I join those speakers, erudite speakers, in thanking them for their contributions to this session. And I think we have enjoyed from their erudite presentation, the ideas. And like my Lord Okolosi pointed out, we have a lot to go home with. He has taken notes, and those notes will help in implementation of the automated system of the Delta State High Courts. So I thank MPA Asaba branch once again, thank the organizing committee, thank IFI that helped us in coordinating this session. And then, gentlemen, like they have said, we have no choice. Technology has come to stay. If you leave Asaba branch and go to Efuru or go to Ugeli branch, Ugeli division, just take note that like a soul train is coming there. So there's no hiding place for lawyers who want to remain analog. So I believe it's not a rocket science. Once you are able to manipulate your handset on WhatsApp, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, you can do the rest. It's not a big deal. Once you are posting on your wall, deleting, adding, uploading, is the same thing with your laptop, with your computer, with your tabletop. So embrace technology. It will help us so that we stop complaining about delay in administration of justice. The ball is in our court. The judiciary has set the ball rolling. It is for us to cooperate and ensure that by this time next year, we shall now be talking about how far with Delta State. Maybe they will have become the trailblazer. Maybe they would have surpassed Lagos. They will come to Lagos and see what made Lagos not to work fine and correct it in Delta. So on that note, gentlemen, I thank you once again for your attention. Thank you for participation. And I thank the planning committee once again for bringing us here. Thank you very much.
Please don't stand. Please don't stand up yet. Thank you very much. We need to say thank you to you, Chief Emeka Ngige, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Chairman, Council of Legal Education, Ikemba Nalo of the universe. Yes. Thank you for accepting to moderate this session, and you have done so brilliantly. We are very grateful. We thank you, my Lord, Honorable Justice Okolosi. Thank you, Governor and the SGPS. We are very grateful. Thank you so much. Obe, Law Pavilion, thank you. We're privileged to have you in our midst. Dr. Anagi, thank you so much. My Chiwen, thank you also. My brother Asubike, we're very grateful. Thank you. Please, while you are, please, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, may we give them a standing ovation. I mean, this is really awesome. This is wonderful. Thank you so much. Please, while you are still, thank you, please, may we sit down. Please, while you are still sitting here, because when you move from here, you move to the special place for lunch for resource persons. We have a showcase of 10 minutes, the IOM. So while it's going on, we who are seated, they can start serving us lunch. Immediately after the IOM session, which is 10 minutes, then the resource persons here with their lordships will have a special place for lunch for you. So that, are you ready now? Thank you very much. I give you the microphone.